Visual pathway. It is a three-order neuronal pathway. The visual fibers arise in the layer of nerve cells, that is bipolar and ganglion cells in the retina. First order neuron. These are the bipolar cells with which receptors synapse. It is of three types: rod bipolar cell with rods, flat bipolar cells with cones, and midget bipolar cell. The bipolar cells synapse with ganglion cells. Second order neurons. These are ganglion cells, and ganglion cells are of two types: large magno and small parvo. The axons of ganglion cells emerge out of the eyeball as optic nerve. The optic nerve consists of two groups of fibers. The fibers which coming from the nasal half of the retina, which carry light sensation from the temporal half of the field of vision, and also fibers from the temporal half of the retina which carry light sensation from the nasal half of the field of vision. There will be partial crossing of the optic nerve fibers occurs at optic chiasma, and two optic tracts are thus formed. The optic tract ends in the lateral geniculate body. Then third order neurons. These arise from the lateral geniculate body and ends in visual cortex. Lateral geniculate body has 6 layers. From layer 1 and 2, the lateral geniculate body magnocellular pathway, and from layers 3 to 6, parvocellular pathway projects to the visual cortex. Magnocellular pathway is concerned with detection of movement, depth, flicker, whereas parvocellular pathway is concerned with color of the object, texture, shape, and other fine details of the object. Some fibers in the interlaminar region of lateral geniculate body ends in blobs in visual cortex and is concerned with color vision only. Pathways end in primary visual area 17, visual association area 18, which is concerned with the depth perception, visual orientation, and relay of information, and area 19, that is related to the occipital eye field for conjugate movement of eye to opposite side. Then they also go to the area number 8, that is the frontal eye field for the visual reflexes. This is the diagram showing visual pathway, where you can see that the nasal fibers, the optic nerve contains the nasal fibers and the temporal fibers of the same eye, and the nasal fibers, they decussate to the opposite side, whereas the temporal field, they are going to run in the same side of the brain. Okay, so that is how optic tract is formed from the half of the temporal fibers and half the nasal fibers of the same eyeball. Then they go to the lateral geniculate body, and they are going to go to the 6th layer of lateral geniculate body, and from the area 1 and 2, the magnocellular pathway arises, and from 3, 4, 5, 6, parvocellular pathway arises, and they project to the primary visual cortex. Some fibers of the optic tract deviate from the main tract and end in midbrain, so which mediate visual reflexes, and suprachiasmatic nucleus, which mediate light and dark cycles. Effect of lesions of the optic pathway. The effect of lesion of the visual pathways are described in terms of field of vision. The following definitions will help to understand these effects. Anopia is complete loss of visual field in an eye. Hemianopia is blindness of half the visual field. Quadrantanopia is loss of 1/4 of visual field. Homonymous hemianopia is when same side, that is right or left, of the visual field of both the eyes are lost, and heteronymous hemianopia is when different sides of the field of vision of both eyes are lost. And scotoma is loss of vision in which is confined to the center of the visual field. Okay. The diagram shows the lesion of the optic nerve in the figure A, which is it leads to anopia. Lesion in the optic chiasma leads heteronymous hemianopia. Lesion in the optic tract will also lead to the homonymous it will lead to homonymous hemianopia. Lesions in the lateral geniculate body leads to homonymous hemianopia. Lesion in the optic radiation, that is geniculocalcarine tract, also leads homonymous hemianopia, but with macular sparing, whereas lesion of optical cortex can lead to scotoma or quadrant anopia. Macular sparing, the loss of peripheral vision with intact macular vision. This is because the macula has a large area of representation in the occipital lobe, and it is greater than that of peripheral part of the retina. Binocular vision. The central part of the visual fields of the two eyes coincide. Therefore, anything in this portion of the field is viewed with both the eyes and is fused at the cortical level into single image, and it is important for depth perception. So this diagram shows different defect in the field of vision. If the lesion is in the optic nerve, it is going to lead to anopia. If the lesion is in optic chiasma, it is going to lead to bitemporal hemianopia. And if the lesion is C, that is left optic tract, it is going to lead to the right homonymous hemianopia. And if the lesion is in the cortex at the cortical level, or in the radiation, optic radiation, it is going to lead to homonymous hemianopia with a macular sparing.